Marijuana legalization was one of the main issues Attorney General nominee William Barr was asked about in his confirmation hearing on Tuesday. And during his first term as Attorney General, Barr helped lead President George H.W. Bush's war on drugs. Since he left office, 10 states and D.C. have legalized recreational use of marijuana. 33 states have legalized medical marijuana. Here's what Barr had to say about his current stance.
Current situation is untenable and really has to be addressed. It's almost like a backdoor nullification of federal law. To me, it's a binary choice. Either we have a federal law that applies to everybody.
And so I'm sorry to interrupt you, sir, but how would you address that? Well, do you think it's appropriate to use federal resources to target, marijuana businesses that are in compliance with state laws?
No, I said that. That's what I said. I'm not going to go after companies that have relied on the Cole memorandum. However, we either should have a federal law that prohibits marijuana everywhere, which I would support myself, because I think it's a mistake to back off on marijuana. However, if we want a federal approach, if we want states to have their own laws, then let's get there, and let's get there the right way.
Erik Altieri is the executive director of the National Organization for the Reform of Marijuana Laws, and he joins me now from Washington, D.C. So, Erik, why don't we start with Barr saying that he would not go after companies that rely on the core memorandum. It's an Obama-era policy that former Attorney General Jeff Sessions actually rescinded. Are you confident that the federal government will not affect businesses in these states where marijuana is already legal if Barr makes it through and is confirmed?
Well, it's very encouraging to hear Barr say that he would stand by the Cole memo, because clearly the former Attorney General, Jeff Sessions, who was extremely anti-marijuana and made a lot of threats towards the industry and towards legalized states, as you mentioned, rescinded that memo. So it's encouraging, but we do need to remain vigilant to keep him to hold his word to the American people that he made there to Congress. It is incredibly important that they do, given how popular it is as a policy and how many states have changed their laws already.
You mentioned that it's important to remain vigilant. Barr has also said that he personally supports a federal law banning marijuana. Are you concerned that Barr might slow legalization efforts?
Well, honestly, it really falls to Congress at this point to take the initiative and to deschedule marijuana entirely from the Controlled Substances Act. So the 47 states that currently aren't in compliance with that act don't have this untenable situation with the federal government. Sure, he could try to slow walk it through the Justice Department, but this is really on Congress. And he does find himself in a dwindling minority on this topic. Recent polling shows that about 68% of all Americans support ending prohibition and legalizing marijuana for adult use. There's no putting the toothpaste back in the tube on this one. The American people want to end our failed prohibition, and any attempts to really slow that down or stop it will be incredibly unpopular across all party lines and demographics. So
you say public sentiment's on your side. What has your organization done to really push forward on this issue of legalizing marijuana?
Well, NORML has been around since 1970. We're about to turn 50 years old. We have over 165 chapters across the country that work at the local and state level, lobbying their legislators and organizing average Americans in grassroots movements. We also work here in Washington, D.C., lobbying at the federal level to finally end this disastrous prohibition that has really ruined so many lives in this country.
I want to read you an excerpt from a new book called Tell Your Children the Truth About Marijuana, Mental Illness, and Violence. It's by Alex Berenson, and it argues that legislation and perception in the U.S. has gone ahead of science, that marijuana is, and I'm quoting here, the growth has happened in the face of powerful new evidence that marijuana can be deeply harmful to mental health. What's your response to that?
Well, anyone can really cherry-pick data to sell their book. Unfortunately for him, that the science is not on his side, nor is the experience in this country, where we do have 10 states with legal marijuana and well over 30 states with medical programs of some sort. It is not shown to have the problems that he's ascribing to it, and that is based on hard data that we have from research and from the states themselves. Also, that is not a knock against legalization if you have concerns about it. Prohibition is defined by the absolute lack of control of marijuana. If you have concerns about its use, particularly with youth and other health concerns, the answer is to regulate it and have those controls, not to leave it in the hands of criminal elements completely unregulated in back alleys and street corners.
Erik Altieri, thank you for joining us.
Thank you very much.